Today we're talking about bounce lighting using my homemade bounce board. I'm going to show you how to make it, but more importantly, how using bounce light can drastically improve the lighting in your film. Now, since I practice what I preach, I am using one light and a bounce board to light this very video. No light, bounce light. No light, bounce light. So let's talk diffusion. I thought we were talking about bounce light. We are. Bouncing your light source is another way to diffuse it. I know we often get caught up in always pointing our source towards our subject, and pointing the light away from our subject seems pretty counterproductive, but it's not. The definition of diffusion is spreading something more widely. So an easy way to remember light diffusion is this saying: small source equals a hard light, and a large source equals a soft light. This is because the larger the source, the more widely you're spreading the light. With this setup, our light is no longer this size, but it's this size. Since the light takes up the full amount of the silk, the light actually grew. With the same thinking, we need to think that our source is no longer the lamp, but the light coming from the silk. Now, instead of shooting through a silk, I'm bouncing the 300D off of a 4x4 white bounce. The same concept applies. The source is no longer the lamp itself, but rather the 4x4 bounce that the light is reflecting off of. Two different techniques, but both of them do the same thing. They take a small hard source and make a larger, softer source. On top of this, if you'd like, you can double diffuse your light by bouncing your light off of a whiteboard and then into a silk. This setup is called a book light and produces a very soft light that wraps around your subject's face. So far we've been talking about bounce light as an alternate way to diffuse your key light. But these bounce boards are just as powerful lifting your shadows as a fill light. When using a bounce fill, the board is redirecting the light from your key light onto the opposite side of your subject's face. The intensity of your bounce fill will depend on three things: the intensity of your key light, the reflectiveness of the material that you're using for your bounce fill, and how close the board is to your subject. So let's run some tests to see how the fill light looks in different conditions.
I fall behind every time that you're around. And it's a lie when I say that I'll be fine. And in the night I tend to lose my sight. I fade out within the moving lights. But I got time, that's why I'm breathing now. I can see through my feelings now. I can see.
So now let's talk construction. Buy some insulation board at your local Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever you have around. Make sure your car is big enough to take it home so you don't have to call anyone to help you. Once you get home, measure out 4 feet and cut it in half. Then peel off the white logo paper. Once you've done that, you can tape the edges of your board. Your square bounce is done, but if you want to make a handle for your circle bounce, cut a small hole in the middle and then tape the edges. I like having this handle for the circle bounce because it's easier to direct light for walk and talks, and the grip can actually see where they're bouncing the light without having to do some giraffe neck style stuff. So there you go. You have a square and a circle bounce, all for around 25 bucks. I prefer the thicker insulation board because it's more sturdy and it doesn't move around as much on a windy day. Although if it's actually windy, there isn't a bounce board that won't shake a bit. If you decide to build your own DIY bounce board, you may want to look into a duckbill clamp. That's how you can attach the board to a C-stand. And you might want to look into a C-stand if you don't already have one. But you definitely need that duckbill clamp so you can position your white bounce hands-free. There are some free filmmaking tools in the description below in the Filmmaker's Vault. The link will be down there. Check it out, like a free lighting ebook, lighting diagrams, and a shot list download. Hit the notification bell when you subscribe so you don't miss out on my next video, even though you already know it's every Friday.